Hey guys, Ethan here with Terminal.com, and today I've got a really cool video presentation for you. We're going to show you how to automate snapshot creation on your terminals. Now the reason this is cool is because snapshots are an excellent backup. We all know that if the system crashes, a snapshot can get you back up and running in seconds rather than hours. The tricky part is you have to remember to make snapshots at regular intervals though, and that's especially important if you've got an ongoing project. It can be difficult to remember to manually create snapshots, and we all know that the day you forget is the day the system is going to go down. So why don't we just make it easy, automate the whole process, and that's what I'm going to show you how to do today. This is a companion video to the post written on our blog about this subject. And Enrique created this, and he's the one who created all the code. It's a fantastic article. I strongly suggest you go on over and check it out and follow along with me, because copying the code from this article makes things go a lot faster. There's some great visual representations. It's just a very good resource. The other thing we're going to need before we get started is our API credentials. You can find those starting from your terminal panel, clicking on the settings wheel, and then heading over to API tokens section. Now if there's nothing written here, just go ahead and click the generate a new token button, and if you're doing what I'm doing and you're sharing them with the entire world via screencast, you're going to want to regenerate these afterwards because this is private information. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is just jump over here into our actual project, and for me this is just a regular brand new Ubuntu snapshot, nothing added to it. But we can go ahead and pretend this is a project that I've been working on for a while, or one that you may want to work on, one that you have been working on for a while, something that you want to back up, and perhaps something that's still in development, so things are changing and you want to create regular snapshots of it. You could follow along with me in that project, or you could just spin up a new server, either a snapshot of your project or a brand new server. However you want to get your feet wet, it's totally up to you. But if you are going to work in your project, I suggest you at least snapshot it manually before we get started. That way, if you mess anything up, you just go back to it. And snapshotting is easy to do. From inside the IDE, you just click this little snapshot button in the top right corner. Alright, so let's get started. The first thing we want in order to teach the computer to snapshot this on a regular basis is we're going to need a list of our terminal IDs, or our snapshot IDs, so the IDs of the terminals that we currently have in our user account. And the quickest way to go about getting this is by running a command, and you can find this command in the actual post. I'm just going to grab it in chunks from the post because this is the fastest way to do it. So here's the command, this top part here, and you actually need to sub in your credentials for these sections. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this first part, and don't get the $sign because that is not part of it. And then I'm going to come over to my credentials here, just grab my user token, and I'm going to grab the second part, which is the beginning of the access token to the very end of the user token. Paste it in, grab my actual access token, and guys, it's important to make sure that you're copying the entire token. Give yourself nothing but headaches if you only get part of the token. And then grab the last part of the command, paste it at the end, and run it. And what you should see is that this will return a very long and totally unreadable list of all the information you could ever want to know about the terminals that we currently have. Now, I've got 2 terminals under my user account. If you're a full-time developer and you've got multiple clients, or if you're running a large project with multiple versions of the same server or different servers, this list is going to be huge. And as you can see, it's a huge pain to try to sift through it and grab the information that we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a Python script. And the script is going to do 2 things. The first thing it's going to do is it's going to enable us to return a much more organized, much easier to read list of this information. Specifically the information that we're looking for, which is we want the name of the terminal, its snapshot ID, and then the status. So we want to grab those pieces of information. We're going to create a script that does that easily for us. The second thing we want is we want to add functionality to that script that enables us to then create snapshots of this terminal, or of the terminal that we wish, by basically plugging in the snapshot ID. And so we're going to start this off by creating a new file. And I'm just going to name it automate.py. And this is going to be a Python script, so py is important. Go ahead and open it up in the text editor. Now the blog post will actually take you through the multiple steps of creating this document. And here's the first part. But if you scroll all the way down to part 3, this is the final version. And this is what we want to start with. Just for time's sake, I'm going to start here and just grab this whole thing and paste it into this document we just created. Couple of important things. If you're going to follow along with the blog post, which means you're going to start off creating just the first half of this document and then testing it and then creating the second half, you want to make sure you get all the information when you finish that second half. So there are some items that are added in the top section up here. So definitely make sure you copy over the entire document. Very important. Second thing, and just as important, we want to sub in our user token information. And we're going to just do that real quick by copying it and pasting it again. Okay, we're going to go ahead and save this. And then the last thing I'm going to do before I test it is I'm going to give it execution permissions. So do that with the chmod command u plus x and then the path, file path, to the document we just created, which is automate.py. Okay, so it's time to test this puppy out. Now, as I said before, there are two functions that this script gives us. The first is it's going to enable us to list our terminals in a way that's easier to read and understand. The second is it's going to allow us to then take some of the information we had before from the list feature and use it to create a new snapshot. So let's test the list feature first. What we want to do is we want to run the name of the document, and then we're going to just type list afterwards, which is the name of the function that we set. And right there you'll see it works. We've gone from this very long, difficult to read printout to a line-by-line account of the terminals that we have on our account, along with their IDs and their statuses. Super simple, much better solution. The next thing we want to test is whether or not this will snapshot. And what we're going to do is we're going to, again, type the file path. Make sure you spelled it right. And then we want to type snap, which is the name of the function. And then we're going to take and copy the snapshot ID of the terminal we want to snapshot. Paste it on this line, and then the last thing we type is the name of the new snapshot. So we'll call this test snap. So we've come back to our command line, and if we go to our settings panel and we click on My Snaps, we should see our new snapshot created and listed in here. And just like that. Oop. Nah, it's not that one. It is this one. But just like that, it is listed here, and you can see that that's the server we tried to snapshot, and you can also see that it's a good reason to create a unique name for your snapshot so you don't lose it. All right, moving on. All right, so we've got this script which enables us to grab the information from a specific terminal and then snapshot that terminal. The next thing we need is to automate this, and we're going to do that using Crontab. Now, if you're unfamiliar with it, Crontab is a utility that allows you to automate specific tasks. It's got its own syntax, and you basically just add a line to a document in that's already in your file tree, and your system is set up to automatically monitor that document for any additions. And I'll show you where that is. It's in if you go back to the root and just click etc, there's a file in here called Crontab. And if you open it up, you'll be able to see these are the listing of the events which should be automated. And we can just add a line to this in order to automate our snapshot creation. Now, for like an in-depth explanation of Crontab syntax is a bit outside the realm of this tutorial, but there's a great link in the blog post. You can find it a little bit lower down, right here. And this goes through everything from syntax to, well, use cases. But essentially what you're doing here is these 5 spaces each represent a different time period. And you use them to set how often you'd like a specific task to run. So in the case of, well, this one, I guess you could say it's every minute. This first space is for minutes, the second is for hours, the third is days of the month, 1 through 31. The fourth is months of the year, and the fifth is day of the week. So using these 5 spaces, you can then set up how often you'd like something to repeat. And I'll show you how we're going to do this for our particular case. So if you grab this, just copy it. Okay. So what this basically says is at minute 0 of hour 5, on day 1 of every week, run the snapshooter file we created. So we'll have to customize this to the name of the file we created, which in our case was automate.py. Run the snap function. Then we want to input the container key of the terminal that we want to snapshot, and then just give it a name. And that's how you automate snapshot creation. Guys, I hope this was helpful. Go ahead, play around with it. Let us know what you liked, what you didn't like, what you want to see. Thanks for checking in, and until the next time, get out there and make something awesome.